Okay, class, thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk about learning module 3, which is primarily decimals and percents. If you have any questions, just go ahead and chime in along the way, and I'll be sure to answer them. So in learning module 3, you can see you have several sections, several videos that can be used to help you complete your homework assignments. You have several homeworks, 3A all the way through 3I. This is a long chapter. You also have competency check 3 and 5. And again, these can be worked on all semester long, but it is a good idea to kind of practice them as we go so you're not cramming them all at the end. But at the same time, as far as what's due, you can concentrate on the 3A through the 3I. And you also have a time management project, part 1. There's 2 parts to it. The first part is due this week. It's not long, but it does take your attention. And I'll make sure I talk about all of those today. So let me do something else as well. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking about the time management project because that seems to be the part that I get the most questions about whenever we get to this point in the course. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way down to the bottom where I see the time management project. And you can see there's a link, and we won't click on that link until we are actually ready to submit. Okay, everything you need to complete it is right here on the front. You don't click here until you're actually ready to submit what you're turning in. You're going to need to print this PDF. I'll open it up in just one second because that is actually what you're going to fill out and complete, scan, and submit back to me. So as you can see, the first sentence is, please print and complete the attached assignment. It's going to ask you to explore your current habits and even identify how many hours you dedicate to certain responsibilities in your life. Please be as accurate as possible. For the weekly calendar, you can document this week's activity or plan next week's activity. You cannot have blank spaces. Please highlight on the calendar when you plan on studying for your math class. When finished, scan your worksheets. You do not need to scan the second page. Save them to your computer and attach the PDF to this assignment. You will use these results from the weekly routine worksheet to complete next week's assignment. These are the categories that you are going to split your weekly hours into. Okay? Sleeping, grooming, travel, actual class time, when you're working, when you're studying, internet, phone, video games, eating, cooking, grocery shopping, restaurants, cleaning and errands, church, volunteer hobbies, friends, hangout, leisure, okay? Those are going to be the major chunks of how you spend your week. Now, there are actually, if you think about it, 7 days in a week, right? And there's 24 hours a day. So 7 times 24 is 168. So this is the PDF you're going to print. This is the second page that you do not have to turn in because it's information for you. And this is the weekly routine worksheet that I was talking about. So what it's asking you to do is think about your week. Hours of sleep each night. Well, unfortunately, I probably only sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. So I would only be able to put 28 to 35 hours a week here. And again, keep in mind you're putting the hours per week out of a 7-day period. So I would probably go ahead and say 35 hours a week. That's how much that's what I do. I'm going to fill mine out a little bit. So I would write 35 right here. Hours spent grooming a day. I would say I probably spend an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, and then maybe a little more. But again, we're estimating. 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, 14 hours. Number of hours for food, meals, snacks. So I am the food preparer in my house, so I do all the cooking, I do all the grocery shopping, so I'm going to make sure I include all that here. Well, actually, I'll do the grocery shopping with the errands. I'd say about an hour a day, probably prepping and cooking, maybe a little more, but I'd say about 7. Travel time during the week, travel time during the weekend. This is assuming that you do different things Monday through Friday than you do Saturday and Sunday. Again, we're just looking for a total number of hours that you spend commuting per week. So whatever that is for you. For me, I only really commute a long time Tuesdays and Thursdays. I spend about 4 hours on the road that day. Every day I take my kids to and from school. That's about 30 minutes a day times 5. That's another 2.5 hours I spend in the car. On the weekend, I usually hang out maybe 3 hours in the weekend driving. And I'll probably say another 3 hours just doing errands. So I'm going to say 6, 10, 11, 12 and a half. I'm going to go ahead and round it to 13. Now, for some people, if you're commuting every day, this number might be a lot bigger, and that's just what it is. Total number of hours you're in meetings or church, clubs, things like that, extracurricular activities. If your kids play sports, you would put that time here if you have kids. Me, I'm going to say about 5 hours. Errands, I probably do about 7 hours. I work about 25 hours a week. I'm not taking classes right now. I don't know, maybe 4 hours. And the idea is that I'm going to add these together, right? And I'm going to get a total. So I'm going to go ahead and add these together right now. Now, everyone's paper is obviously going to be different because you guys all take part in different things. This is all about you assessing how you spend your day, okay? So 35, 14, 7 plus 13 plus 3, plus 5 plus 7 plus 25 plus 4. Okay, so it says that I have a total of 110 hours that I've scheduled already. Now again, technically there are 168 hours in a week. So 168 minus 110 means I have 58 hours left. 58 hours left. Now obviously I probably left some things out, but I was just trying to do this as an example. So I have 58 hours left here. And then that means out of those 58, do I think that those 58 hours is enough time for me to study? Because that was the only thing that wasn't up here. And I would say yes, because obviously that's plenty of time. Now some of you I've seen people do this activity and get -10, which means they have more time scheduled than there actually is in a week. That means you have to make some adjustments and you don't even have time to study, which means you may have a time management crisis on your hands. That's what this is all about. Okay? Yes, if you take both your classes online, when you get up here to class time, I would write, and now again we're separating class time, which to me would be like lectures or what you're doing right now, participating in this session. And when I'm doing my homework and studying would be the hours down here. So those should be two separate things. So if you can categorize it that way, then yeah. Okay, did that answer your question? Okay, good. Okay, so and then there's another little worksheet, and again this is trying to get you to reflect on how you spend your day, how you're utilizing your time. And no, I don't expect you to tell me all of your personal business, right? This is just chunks, and that's why we call it grooming, and we call it errands, and we call it hanging out. I don't need to know what you're actually doing while you're hanging out, or what you're actually cooking, or how you groom yourself, right? So I don't want you to think I'm prying into your personal life. If you want to, call it something else, do what you got to do. But this is for you. This isn't for me. Okay? So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have from 7 a.m. all the way till 6 a.m. So it's pretty much all day. Okay? And I actually, believe it or not, when I was in college, I was pretty busy. I worked in the casinos. I worked in the mall. I was in charge of the yearbook. I did all kind of things, and I took 18 credits. I was a crazy person. So literally what I would do is on Sunday nights, I would fill this out for my week, because my weeks were always different. I never had the same week. depending on, whatever concerts or work schedule or clubs or meetings, it was always different. So every Sunday I would fill out my calendar for a week. I would slip it in the front of my binder, and this is what I would walk around with all week long, so I knew where to go. Now, obviously, that was before smartphones and all that. So now I still do this, but I do it in a different way. I use my online calendar. So that's what I want you guys to do. I either want you guys to track, right? Try and write down what you did this week and how long you spent it, or predict next week, right? Plan next week. What's next week going to look like? So you can really see how much time are you sleeping? How much time are you sitting on the phone? How much time are you driving? How much time are you cooking? How much time are you, I think I said phone already, right? A lot of people spend a lot of times on their phone. They don't even realize it. Oh, sure, I could do that. So let's say, all right, what's today? Today's Wednesday, right? So I would say, now again, since this is due on Saturday, I'm just going to pretend I'm pretending I'm filling this out for next week, but I'm going to use today as an example. So let's say I wake up around 7 on a Wednesday, and I also do my grooming in this period, so I would actually write grooming in here, right? Here I'm driving, taking the kids to school. By 9 I'm home. I'm usually cleaning. Okay, today I'm doing a study session at 10. We'll probably stay till 11. I'll start cleaning again probably after. My husband gets off of work at 1. This is usually when we kind of hang out, drink some coffee, eat some lunch, catch up on the day. This is definitely chill time right here. And here I'm picking up the kids. I'm driving, I'm picking up the kids. We come home, it's playtime for the kids. Me, I'm cooking. I'm cooking dinner. I'm probably still cleaning. I know my life kind of sucks. There's a lot of cleaning in here. Feed the family. So now this is homework, dinner, and baths. And no, it's not perfect, right? But this is me kind of estimating the flow of my day. The part 2 assignment, you're going to get really specific, okay? And that's why this is part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is reflect, assess, plan, gauge it. And part 2, next week, it gets really specific where you really have to nail down the exact number of hours. Usually right here, I'm usually watching TV with the hubby about this time, and I don't think I ever actually make it through a show. I think I just fall asleep. And then down here, let me go down a little bit. Okay. Down here, I'm going to clear that out so it doesn't mess you guys up. Down here, I would say this is where I like to work out early in the morning before I wake up the kids. Okay? And again, you just do that every day. Let me see. Again, I need my pointer. On Sunday, I would say breakfast, church. We usually go to the park. Nail it down. If it's like some people's days are really alike. They may say they wake up, drive. They're from work from 9, and they may just draw. And I'm okay with this too. Oh, they're at work from 9 to 5, right? They're grooming, they're driving, right? They're driving. Now, obviously, you guys can be a little neater. I'm writing with fake pens. This is a little more difficult. And then they might say work. And it might look a lot like this, right? So the idea again is that you try and identify when am I doing my class time and when am I studying in between all these other responsibilities that I know you guys have, okay? All right, now let me see, I think that's the last page. Yep, so we got that page. We talked about this page. This page, again, is just introducing you to what we're kind of talking about. Go ahead and read through it. Okay, you don't need to submit that page though. And then page 1 is just an assessment. Okay, 1, you strongly agree. 2, you somewhat disagree. 3, you're undecided. 4, you somewhat agree. 5, you strongly agree. This is a self-assessment about your strengths and weaknesses. I'm going to upload the scores for you. There's a range of scores depending on what range you are. It kind of says whether you have good or bad time management skills. I will post that range for you so you can see how how it all played out for you. Okay? You guys have any questions about the time management? Okay, good. All right. Okay. All right, so that was that. Now, of course, after you print it and fill it all out, you need to scan it or use your app to turn it into a PDF. Again, no JPEGs, no PNGs and all that. I need it to be a PDF file type. So if you need to go to the Valencia campus to scan it, they can scan it and turn it into a PDF right on the copy machine in the Math Depot or in the library. Okay. You will actually click right here after you get that document saved to your computer. You can actually click right here on the Time Management Part 1, the actual name of it. And again, it tells you a little bit more about it. It tells you when it's due, the date, the time, how many points it's worth. It's a pretty significant project, and it's obviously not a difficult one. It's more about you actually taking the time to do it, not that it's difficult. And then you are going to browse your computer, and you're going to pick the file, okay? Once you find the file, you're going to hit OK, and it's going to attach it right here, and I will be able to see it and grade it and write comments on it, okay? So, all right. Okay, so that's the time management. So now let's talk about the homework. So again, there's several videos. If you don't like that first video, there's some alternative videos here. Of course, you can always search YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel to see what previous recordings I've done. Khan Academy, which is this website. It is actually, I'll type it in another window for you. It's www.khanacademy.org. This website right here is free. You can probably find subjects for all the classes you're taking. You can see math right here. We're pretty much pre-algebra. You can go right there, and you can start typing in, looking for, you can search by topic. You can say, percent word problems or whatever. You can see there's some topics here that people are already, there's decimals, there's fractions. Fractions is chapter 4. This is the chapter we're in right now. And you can see several videos. And these are pretty good videos. A lot of students like them. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that particular website. Well, let me go back a site. I want to go to, I'm in pre-algebra. Yeah, I'm going to copy this and post it in your course really quick. So, if you don't like those videos, there are so many videos out there for you guys to use. Not to mention to just ask me, and I can either explain it to you or I can write you a short video. There we go. All right. There we go. I didn't realize they've really updated that website. It is very organized now by a specific topic. That's really good. Okay, so now let's actually do some math problems now that we got that stuff out of the way. All right, I'm going to start with 3A. And mine looks a little different than yours. So we have Intro to Decimals, section 3A. Write this decimal in numbers. It says 45 hundredths. Okay, so that means I am going to type in 0.45 because this is the tenths place, right? And this one is the hundredths. So when you read it out loud, you go to the last digit, and whatever place that is in, that's what you say at the end. So you say the number 45 and hundredths because the last number is in that place. Okay? And if you guys are good with these, just tell me I can move on or, go to the next one, something like that. Okay, I'm just going to skip around a little bit. All right, this is 81 thousandths. So here's my decimal. We got tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So then we got 81. So that means the 8 is here, the 1 is here, and then I would place a 0 there. And then you would just type that in just like that and hit submit. Okay? Now, of course, I'm going to skip around quite a bit because I want to make sure I get to some of the harder things. This one is rounding. Round 0.33 or 33 hundredths to the nearest tenth. So this is the tenths place. We always have to look at the number to the right. Since this number is below 5, I'm going to stay the same. So I'm just going to get 0.3. And notice you don't write anything else after that. Whatever place it tells you to round to, that's the only number you write. .45. What did you write? 0.5? So it was this. What did it say round to? Hundredths? And it didn't like that? Let me see. Let me go fix that for you. What number was it? Oh, it made you, then you got it on the second one? I'm going to check that out. If you have any weird questions sometimes and you know it should have been marked right, tell me about it because I can see every single attempt that you guys make at a question. I can see the exact problem you had. And it might be a real issue. It might be a problem that I need to remove or fix or something like that. So let me just write that down real quick so I don't forget to go back and look at it. So this was 3A, number 1. It was 0.45. Round to hundredths, and so that I can find it, let me just write your last name down real quick. Okay. G. Okay. All right. Thank you. So, yeah, by all means, anybody, if you guys find one and you're like, hey, I know that was right, tell me because I might need to fix it. Computers do crazy things sometimes. All right. Let me see what the last one is. Hourly wage, 22, 307. Round her salary to the nearest cent, which is obviously the 0. I'm going to look to the right. That 7 makes it a 1, so this should be 22.31. All right, let me go to the next section. Actually, give the fraction its decimal. Yeah, it should have been 0.45. That was number 1? Yeah, I definitely need to go look at that one. You guys shouldn't have had a fraction yet. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go to section B. Yeah, I'm going to look into that one, okay? Thank you for telling me. All right. Alright, so the big to-do about adding and subtracting decimals is just that you need to make sure you line them up, okay? So again, guys, I know you're at home. I know you can just pop this into the calculator or type it into your fancy websites and get your answers. But when you guys go to take the final and the midterm, you will not have that calculator or that fancy website, and the truth will come to play. The midterm and the final are worth a lot towards your grade. So you can have all A's in everything. If you do not pass those tests, you won't pass the class. So the reason I said all that is because stuff like this, we tend to be a little lazy and grab that calculator, and then when we go to do it by hand, it's not that it's hard, we just kind of forget because we haven't practiced without the calculator. So make sure you're practicing without the calculator, okay? You have to. So again, the big to-do with adding and subtracting decimals is you have to make sure you line up the decimals. Okay, you have to make sure you line them up. And when you're subtracting, you have to make sure you always put the bigger number at the top because you're doing it by hand. Okay? All right, let me just skip around. All right, here we go. We got some subtraction. I'm going to change the color of my pen actually. All right, so I have 1.6 minus 1.419, okay? Don't assume that because this number is longer that it's bigger. This number is bigger because it has a 6 in the tens place when we compare them. Oh, okay. So when I do this subtraction again, the bigger number is written first, but notice I need some placeholders, so I'm going to go ahead and use zeros because I want something that I can see to borrow from. I am going to have to borrow because I cannot take 9 away from 0, so I'm going to borrow from this 0, but I can't borrow from a 0. So I'm going to come all the way over here and make this a 5, and this guy becomes 10. But then, since I still need to borrow, right, I'm going to have to borrow from that 10. It's going to become a 9, and he's going to become a 10. Now I'm going to go 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 1 is 8. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring my decimal down. 1 minus 1 is 0. So you can put a 0 here, but you don't have to. You can just write 0.181. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Let's see. Okay. Minus 12. You guys actually shouldn't even have this question. I'm going to do it anyway. This problem here, 7.628 minus 12.1. Remember earlier I said when you're subtracting by hand, you have to write the larger number first. So I have to write the 12.1 first, and then the 7.628. And I'm going to subtract them to find the difference. I'm going to use zeros for my placeholders just like I did before. I'm going to change my color. I can't borrow from here. Got to come all the way over here. He's going to become 10. Change my color. That 10 becomes a 9. Then he becomes 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 2 is 7. You didn't have this one? Yeah, it really shouldn't, because this answer ends up being negative. So really, you guys shouldn't even have that yet. But I'm going to just talk about it anyway. Okay, 9 minus 2 is 7. I can't take 6 away from 0, so I got to borrow from this 2. Becomes 1. He becomes 10 again. 10 minus the 6 is 4. Decimal comes down. 11 minus 7 is 4. Now technically, okay, we had same exact thing though. That example is also going to give you a negative answer. So this is my answer, but it's going to be a negative 4.472 because here the larger number is negative. Okay, so even though I had to write him first and I wrote minus like this, the answer is still negative because the bigger number is negative here. Okay, exactly. Good job. Good job. Okay, so I'm glad I bumped into that one. Skip around a little bit more. This is pretty straightforward. I think this is more about an illusion in your eyes sometimes. You got 0.01 added to 0.11. So you get you got a 2 there and a 1 there. Okay? Alright, let me go to a couple more sections. Let me go see. Multiplying decimals. Okay, now unlike, let me skip one. Oh, there's a negative problem here too. 3C, number 4. Alright, okay, let me get my pen. Now, unlike adding and subtracting, where you have to line them up, when you're multiplying and dividing, it's not about lining up the decimal. Okay, so we're going to do this multiplication problem. Now, first of all, this is a negative number times a positive number. So I use this tic-tac-toe board for students to help them remember how signs work when it comes to multiplication and division. So again, this only works with multiplication and division, and this only works with your signs. Yes, they are. Oh, good, good. Yeah, everyone gets similar problems, but they're different. And when you reattempt them, you're going to get a different version. So you could get the same problem as someone else eventually, but they're generated automatically with a formula. So it's just funny that I never noticed these negative problems before, and nobody's ever said anything. So anyway, multiplication and division. You put P's down the diagonal for the positives, and then you put N's everywhere else for the negatives. And again, this is just you could put it on your scrap paper when you go take a test. I'm going to ask myself a negative times a positive. So I'm going to say a negative times a positive is a negative. So I know my answer is going to be something negative. So now when I come over here to do the actual multiplication, I'm not really worried about the sign so much because I already figured that part out. Now I'm just going to concentrate on the numbers only. So 7 times 9 is 72. So I'm going to carry the 7. 9 times 6 is 54. Plus 7 is 61. I'm going to bring down the 1. Carry the 6. 9 times 0 is 0 plus 6. 9 times 1 is 9. 7 times 8 is 56. Now with the second number, you just have to remember to do something. You guys remember what it is? What do you got to do when you go to multiply this second number right here? Yeah, well, I'm not going to move the decimal, but I'm going to move a place over. So 7 times 8 is 56, right? And I'm going to go 5. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 5 is 47. So my 4. 7 times 0 is 0 plus 4, and 7 times 1. And then when I come to do the next number, I'm going to indent again, right? I'm going to grab red this time. So 9 times 8, and we did 9 already, so I know it's going to be these 4 numbers. So I'm just going to go ahead and indent 2 spaces and then write the same exact answer. Okay, sorry it's a little crooked. It's kind of hard to write on this. All right, so then I'm going to add everything. I get 2, I get 7, here I get 12, 13, 14, 15, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 12, 13, 14, carry the 1, 10. Now, does anybody know what I need to do with the decimals at this point? Because I know the answer is negative. I know these are the numbers, but where does the decimal go? Exactly. Since there's 4 decimal places in the original problem, I'm going to go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places in my answer. And then I'm going to come here. Very good. Negative 104.5572. Okay, very good. So again, emphasizing, try to make sure you're practicing without the calculator. You can use the calculator to check your work, but make sure you're doing the work. Okay, so that's multiplying decimals. Let me get to dividing decimals. Because that one usually throws people sometimes. Perfect. Okay. So dividing decimals by hand. So you got 17.16 divided by 4.4. And of course, I'm not using the correct words for these decimals. I'm being lazy. So I got 17.16 divided by 4.4. So it's going to be 17.16 divided by 4.4. Now the rule here is when I'm doing division by hand of decimals, I can't have the decimal over here. This number has to be a whole number. So I'm going to move the decimal one place to make it a whole number. So now it's going to be 44. Okay. It's going to be 44. But since I changed this number, I also have to change the inside number by the same exact amount of decimal places. So that means I'm actually going to have a new division problem like this. Okay, so this is where I'm going to actually do my division. What I like to do when I'm doing it by hand is I like to go ahead and put my decimal up in my answer right away so I don't lose it. Okay, and then I'm going to start asking myself, does 44 go into 1? No, it doesn't. Does 44 go into 17? No, it doesn't. Does 44 go into 171? I'm sure it does. I just don't know how many times it goes into it. So I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to say 40 times 4 is 160. So what's 44 times 4? 176. That's too big. So I need 44 times 3, which is 132. So since 44 is going into 171, that's why my 3 goes right above the 1. It goes over the place that you're going to. 3 times 44 is 132. So I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to get 39, and then I'm going to bring down the 6. Notice again, I'm ignoring the decimal because I already put the decimal in the answer where it belongs. So now I'm going to estimate again. I got 44 into 396. If 3 times is 132, then 6 times is probably like 260, right? So I'm going to, let me see 8. What's 44 times 8? 352. What's 44 times 9? There we go. 44 times 9 is 396. My remainder is 0. So my final answer is just 3.9. You guys got any questions about that? Okay. Okay. Let me clear this and pick a different problem. Okay. It says a case of 7 items costs $7.91 at Costco. What is the price of each item? That means we have to divide $7.91 by the 7 items. And again, when I do division by hand, I like to go ahead and put my decimal in the answer right away. There's not a decimal out here, so I don't have to worry about moving it. 7 goes into 7 once, Bring down my 9. 7 goes into 9 once. Bring down my 2, or my 2 is my remainder. Bring down my 1. 7 goes into 21 3 times. So that means each item costs $1.13. Okay. Let me go to a different section. That was D, right? Let me go to E. Fractions and decimals. Okay. So in this one, we have write 5/10 as a fraction reduced, okay? And that's the thing. Whenever you have a fraction, you always have to simplify it. So I like converting decimals to fractions because it's basically exactly how it sounds. Since the 5 is in the tenths place, I would read this as 5/10. So I'm actually going to write 5/10, 5 over 10. And I want to simplify this, and it would be 1/2. Any questions about that one? Let's just say it was 43 hundredths. I would write 43 over 100 and try to simplify. If you got 0.7672, this is thousandths. I would write 672 over 1,000, and I would simplify it as much as possible. Okay? That's why I like decimals to fractions. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. In this one, it's asking you to take this fraction, 11 over 12, and convert it to a decimal. That just means you have to do the division. You have to actually do the division. 11 divided by 12. Now, since 12 is too big to go into an 11, that's how you get a decimal. You have to add a decimal and a 0. Put the decimal up in your answer. 12 cannot go into 1. 12 cannot go into an 11. But 12 can go into 110. And your job is to figure out how much. Well, I know 12 times 12 is 144. I know 12 times 10 is 120. So I would say, well, what's 12 times 9? 108. So I got 9, 108. I'm going to get a remainder of 2. I'm going to bring down another 0 because it says round your answer to 3 decimal places if necessary. So that means I'm actually going to go 4 places to figure out if I need to round the third number or not. 12 goes into 21s, right? I get a remainder of 8. Bring down another 0. I'd say 12 times 5 is 60, so 12 times 6 is 72. 72. I get another remainder of 8, so I'm going to do 6 again. So again, I went 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. It says round to the third decimal place. This 6 is going to make this 6 change to a 7. So I would actually write 0.917. Any questions about that? Okay. Same thing, write this fraction as a decimal. Round to the nearest thousandth if necessary. You have order of operations with decimals. Basically, the order of operations is the same as it is with whole numbers. You just have to pay attention to your decimals. So here, I would actually do what was in the parentheses first. So 18.3 minus 15.4. Okay. I'm going to change my color so it's easier to see. I cannot take 4 from 3, so I'm going to borrow from the 8 and make it 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. Bring down my decimal. 7 minus 5 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So that means this answer gives me 2.9. So now I'm going to take 9.3 and I'm going to multiply it by 2.9. Okay? So 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 9 is 81, 82, 83. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 9 is 18. Add them all together. I got 2 decimal places. So now my answer from all of this is 26.97. Then I have 6.1 plus 26.97. I'm just going to line up the decimals and add them appropriately. And again, make sure you put your decimal right there. So I got 33.07. Okay. Let's try do a couple. I'm just trying to make sure I pick a couple problems from each section, because nobody's asked me any questions about it yet. But what tends to happen is everybody waits until the last minute. Then all of a sudden everybody's emailing me all these questions 2 hours before the deadline, and it's not enough time for me to go back and answer everyone. That's just evil, you know. Alright, here we go. We're going to convert this decimal to a percent. So 0.16 is actually the same as 16%. You just move the decimal 2 places to the right. So when you're converting decimal to percent, you move 2 places to the right. Okay, that's the rule. See what else we have here. This, just in case, right, it's 0.7 and I want it to be a percent, so I still need to move it 2 places. Here's 1 place. I need to add a 0 to move it 2 places, so this is actually 70%. Very good. I'm going to have to look and see which video it's in. Usually what happens is it's the videos first and then it is the homework. So let's go back and see real quick. Erase. 3.3F. It should be in one of these. Here's 3F, so it should be in one of these right here. If you didn't see it, you watch both of these? And what about these two? It wasn't in the percent ones? Okay. Let me see here. So that was converting decimals to percent video. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the top. So you get it now, though? Okay. So where was I? I was going to F. Alright, I did that one. I did the 3. That's the same thing. Okay. Just as going decimals to percents is 2 places to the right, percents to decimals is the exact opposite, which is 2 places left. So if I have 26%, technically this is a whole number, so the decimal is right here. So 2 places to the left would make this 0.26. Okay. Are you guys hanging in there? Okay, so when you go from fraction to percent, I find it easier. Now, half is pretty common, so most of us know that a half is 50%. But what if you didn't know that common fraction? What I find is easier is to convert the fraction to a decimal first. And then once you have the decimal, convert the decimal to a percent. Right? Yeah, exactly. So 1/2 is technically 1 divided by 2. So the decimal is right here. 2 cannot go into 1, but it can go into 10. 5 times gives me a remainder of 0. So that means 1/2 fraction is the same as 0.5 decimal, and 0.5 decimal is the same thing as 1 to 50%. Okay? So whenever it's fraction to percent, I go fraction to decimal and then decimal to percent. I find that to be a lot easier. Okay? Any questions about that one? Okay. Sorry, I was just clearing out some of these questions. Okay. All right, let me go to the next section. Okay. Oh, where'd my question box go? All right, so translate into an equation. It says what number is 70% of 150? So every one of these words pretty much stands for something. And the first thing you want to learn is that whenever you see it say what number, you're going to use a variable. Okay? Because that's what you're trying to solve for. That's what you don't know. Whenever you don't know something, you give it a variable. The word is an equal sign. Whenever we're plugging percents into an equation, we actually always write it as a decimal. Okay? The word of means to multiply, and then 150. So I got x equals 150 times. So this would be the same exact answer. It's just written a little differently. They wrote 0.7. I wrote 0.70. They wrote 2 parentheses to show multiplication. I used the dot to show multiplication, but they are equivalent. Any questions about that one? Okay, so I'm just going to do a few of them. So I got 210 is 40%. The word of is multiplication. What number is a variable? So you also would see it written like this. These are the same. They're written the same exact way. Okay? Okay, here you have to actually answer the question. And some of the videos may do it as is over of and all that. I guess you could do it. We could probably do it both ways. I just translate it. I say, what is 75%, so that means decimal, of 410. Okay? And so what I would do is I would multiply 410 times 0.75. I'd get 0, 5, 20, 0, 7, 28, 0, 5, 7, 10, 3, 2 decimals, 307, 307 and 50 cents, or 0.5. Okay? The other way they do it would be they do like this, and I think it's 75 over 100 is over of. I think it would be like that. So you would do, you always put the percent over the 100 equals the is over the of. the what is and the of 410, and then you would cross multiply. So you would still get 410 times 75 equals 100x, and then you would actually have to multiply this. I just like doing it the other way, but both of these ways work. 410 times 75 is a really big number. And then to get x by itself, you would have to divide by 100. And that is how you would get x equals 307.5. So as you can see, you get the same exact answer. It's just two different ways of looking at it. It's the same exact thing. Okay? Okay, what is 55% of 150? You multiply those two and you'll get your x. Or you could do what is, 55 over 100 and 150. Same thing. And you could cross multiply. Okay, let's see what else we have here. I don't want to make the video too long because then you guys won't watch it. I'll do a couple problems from H and a couple problems from I. Okay, so in this one it says 18 is increased to 25. The increase is what percent of the original number. Okay, so what you want to do here is 18 is increased to 25. First thing you want to do is find out the difference between 18 and 25. So you want to subtract them. Okay, you're going to get 7. That is the difference. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that number and you're going to divide it by what it's asking you. It says, is the what percent of what? The original number. The original number was 18. Okay, once you do this, so again, it's the difference over whatever it's asking you. It could ask me for the original or it could ask me for the new. You know, it depends. It could be increased up or increased down. When you do this division, 7 divided by 18, you're going to get a decimal. Okay? You're going to get a pretty long decimal. It actually ends up being like 0.3888. It kind of keeps going. Okay? And it does say write your resulting percent in decimal form rounded to 3 decimal places. So it actually so make sure you read the directions. Write your percent in decimal form. Round to 3 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3. That means I'm going to look here. This 8 makes this 8. Come on, this 8 makes this 8 a 9. So I got 0.389. I'm going to type my answer in just like that because it asks me to. Now, if I was going to say a percent, I would say 38.9%. But it doesn't want me to write it like that. It says like this. Let me make sure it doesn't want you to write 38.9. Let's test it out and see what happens. Because I could be saying that and it could really want you to do it the other way. 0.389. Let's see. Yes, okay, so I was right. So leave it right in that decimal form just like it asks you to. Okay? Okay, at a restaurant, the bill comes to $75. You're going to leave a 19% tip. So that means you're going to multiply your bill by 0.19. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 7 is 63 plus 4. Right? 1 times 5, 1 times 7, 5, 12, 13, 14, 2 decimals. So you're going to leave a $14.25 tip. So how much was the tip? $14.25. Okay. This is the same thing except it's a discount instead of a tip. How much will you pay for the shirt? And you have to remember to subtract afterwards. So here, I'm not going to do the whole thing. You would do $30 times the 40% because you want to find out how much is the discount. You're going to take that number and subtract it to find out how much you're going to end up paying. What's the sale price? And again, just make sure you're reading the question. How much will you pay for the shirt? It could have asked you how much was the discount when you would have just answered this number. But it's saying how much did you pay for the shirt. You got to find out what was the sale price. Okay guys, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to stop here unless you guys have some questions you want to ask me. If anybody has some questions about any of these that you want me to answer specifically, just go ahead and text me or email me the question. Be specific, learning module 3F number 5, and make sure you tell me your last name so I can look at your specific problem. And I can either, give you a written explanation or send you a short video, so just let me know, okay? You guys have any questions you want to ask before I end the session? All right. All right. Yep, let me know if you hit something that you have a question about. Thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your week.